greatest Thundercats was a warrior lost through time, a general in Thundera's armies, his great-grandfather Lord of the Thundercats. However, he's only been seen in the original series in spirit form, and despite being a Thunderian, he is immune to Thundranium. How is this possible? The Thundercats wiki has no idea. But this man, this Thundercat, he is Groon. And you can find him right here in the Doom Room. Groon?
Well,
Alex.
I'm Pete, and that's not true. He's not with us, but he's not with us in this room.
I mean, his spirit is everywhere. The spirit of Groon is with us at all times.
All right, that's true.
Including his immunity to Thundranium. Did you guess that, by the way? Did you guess that one? I felt like while I was writing that out, I was like, Pete's going to figure this one out. He knows Thundranium.
Yeah, I was like, God, what the fuck was that name of the guy who showed up and you saw his like ghost during the kind of intro?
It's Groon. According to my rhyme dictionary, it rhymes with room. I would dispute that, but who am I? Well, I'm just a humble podcaster talking about Doom Patrol Season 4, Episode 9, Immortimas Patrol. This is the full-on musical episode.
The musical episode! Hey, if you love musicals, you'll love this episode. If you don't like musicals, you got to sit through a whole episode of music.
Let's see if our loyal listeners can figure out which one of us falls on which end of that and which one falls on the other. Brief bit of recap here. This is going to get into spoilers. So we have got Isabel Feathers. I don't know why I'm blanking on her name here. But Mortis has exploded. Yes, Izzy has exploded Cloverton and taken everybody into a new reality where every day is Immortimas, a Christmas-style holiday completely devoted to her. That leads to the Doom Patrol all dancing and singing and having a good time until, of course, inevitably, the reality starts to break. Specifically, it's Madame Rouge, a.k.a. Laura, who starts to break through first and figure out what's not real. We've already discovered that she seems to be the one who can see through what's going on with Immortus's illusions, time skipping, etc. But we also get a lot of emotional things going on here, as not only do we get to see Brendan Fraser in the flesh as Cliff.
And flesh and blood.
Yeah, but also Matt Bomer once again as Negative Man, as Larry. So big episode all around for the cast interacting and dancing with each other. And ultimately at the end, though, we find out that due to them really pissing off Isabel and wanting their normal lives back, per the name of the show, they're all doomed. So there you go. That answers the question we're going to answer at the end of the episode. Who's the most doomed? All of them. I guess we'll see if we come around to that at the end of the episode. Now, let's talk about the musical at all. Can I start on my end? I think nobody will guess this one. But when I turned on the episode, I didn't know it was a musical episode. I hadn't read anything. And they had that a cappella version of the Doom Patrol theme where they're going doom, 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 doom. And I was like, oh, what a delightful lark to start off the episode like that. And then they immediately got into song. And I was like, oh no, wait, that wasn't just the theme. Oh my God, it's a musical episode. Oh, it's a whole musical episode. And Pete, this is a huge revelation for you. I love musical episodes.
Oh my God, is it? Because I don't think so. I think I know.
No, for real. They're one of my absolute favorite things of all time. I love a good musical episode.
You sure do.
I'll tell you the other flip side of it, though, is that I get a little trepidatious about a musical episode because I love the conceit of it. But if it doesn't work, if they force it, that's a bummer. If everybody's bad singers, that's a bummer. And if the songs are bad, that's also a bummer. So there's a lot of ways that a musical episode can go wrong. You
know what one you're forgetting?
Yeah. What?
Is a waste of an episode because all you're doing is singing and nothing happens.
Right. So we can get back to that. We can put a little pin in that statement because I have some strong thoughts about it, Pete, as somebody who was raised by musical theater, raised by musical theater, versus what you were like on a Riverdale podcast.
So you weren't raised by Riverdale? You were raised by musicals?
Yes. On a Riverdale podcast, you used to like to say you were raised by Betty and Jughead, which doesn't seem exactly true. No, I literally from like
you're misquoting me. You're misquoting me.
Raised by Bughead? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay.
The show raised us on Bughead.
Yes.
Showed us how great Bughead was.
Were you trying to say lifted us
then,
up? Lifted
yeah.
us up, not raised us, like reared you from birth?
Exactly.
Wow, we're really coming to a lot of catharsis here on our Doom Patrol podcast from Riverdale. Regardless, musical theater has been in my blood since I was born. I've been listening and going to musical theater, so I'm absolutely in love with it. But not Cornell. Before that, when I say I was raised, I'm talking about from birth. Stop winding me up, Matt. Anyway, this is a real flip of our usual dynamic, Pete. What was I saying? Oh, the thing about this episode is I think it hit all of those things. I think for the most part, they're pretty good singers, or where everybody got to play in their range, which is important if you don't have great singers. I thought the songs were very fun and very Doom Patrol-y across the board. They were not the best musical theater songs I've heard of all time, but like, to use a very recent example of another show that did a musical episode, Star Trek Strange New Worlds, which I don't know if you saw that one, but they did a musical episode, very fun, but the conceit didn't quite work and the songs weren't great. It was basically powered through by everybody's joy doing the episode, which is fine. I had a great time watching it because everybody was having such a delightful time, but not one of the best musical episodes of all time. This also probably not one of the best musical episodes of all time, but it had so many fun standout moments that lead into what Doom Patrol is about.
Let's just name a couple, right? I mean, let's talk about some of the fun we were having.
Well, hold on. I do want to say one, probably a couple more things here, let's be honest, because I'm monologuing so you don't get to your bad stuff, Pete. So I thought across the board this showcased everybody, but this gets to the thing that I wanted to say earlier about what you were saying about a waste of an episode. The essential idea of musical theater is that people have emotions so big, they have no choice but to sing. Obviously, here they need to come up with a magical reason for them to sing, which is Immortimas forcing them to sing. She comes from musical theater. That's where Isabel Feathers met Rita Farr when they were on stage. They're doing the musical production of Our Town, not the regular Our Town, but the Our Town about Cloverton. So, of course, she's going to do that. That leads into that. But here you're getting all these songs where people really are saying what they're feeling and working through their feelings, from this bubbling relationship between Casey and Jane to ultimately Cliff singing with his own robot body at the end, which I thought was genius. So all of that stuff is people coming out and saying the things that they feel like they can't normally say because they're stuck up. Like the whole Doom Patrol is stuck in their emotions and frustrated with their emotions. And coming to these catharses in this way, I thought that was a great way to bring it out. Monologue over, break my heart, Pete.
Okay, great. I just, sorry, when you said genius, I almost choked and died.
Sing about it, Pete. Sing about it. Get those emotions out through song.
Yeah, I mean, genius. Having the guy just not put on his suit, but then have it next to him was just so genius. Like, oh my God, it was just
Brendan. You didn't like Brendan Fraser as Cliff singing to Robot Man?
No, because
you got two Cliffs, Pete. All you like out of the show is Cliff. That's double the Cliff.
Now I have no Cliffs.
Double the Cliff, and one of them is actual Brendan Fraser. How do you get better than that? They should have had a sign to come up and like, Pete, baby, this one's for you.
No.
Swirl the martini, cigarette dangling out of the finger. How are they holding the mic? I don't know.
Who knows?
But they're like, Pete, baby, this one goes out to you. Two Cliffs. You love Cliff? Here's two Cliffs.
Hey, nothing's better. All right. So, yeah, I mean, great. People singing about their emotions. What's not to love? It's just
I didn't love that.
Yeah, because it's awful. It's awful is my point.
That's not okay.
Yeah, so I'm happy that you had such a great time. That's awesome. You know what I mean? Everybody should get an episode and feel like they're on top of the world for a little moment in time. Yeah, the problem is Immortimas is this huge thing, and at the end of the episode, Immortimas is this huge thing, and we haven't gotten a plan of how to fight. We haven't come together at all. People have just stood there or danced there and talked about their emotions. So, as far as I'm concerned, waste of an ep because we still have the same problem and we're still in the same place.
Well, here's where I am going to agree with you, Pete, is I am, and this is nothing against the actress, but I'm still not totally sold on Immortus as a villain. And I do think by the end of the episode, we get to see the zombie butts again. So we know that's coming back and that's coming up. So there's still a lot going on here, and it's not completely clear with, hold on, I'm going to get my episode number right, with 3 episodes to go, I think, in this series, what this is heading towards. Like, is it, they're going to finish
heading
up
towards a butt showdown is what it's going to
It's heading towards a butt showdown. So is Immortus a smaller villain? Is Immortus a minor villain? Or is this all going to get smashed together in some way by the final episode?
I think so. I think they're going to need Immortus to battle the butts.
You think Immortus is going to help them against the butts?
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah, I mean, I guess we'll see. I don't know. It just feels like, and we were talking about this a bit on the last episode, or Justin and I were, that we don't know how much they knew about the show ending or not. So it makes me a little nervous to be like,
yeah,
if this is just any other season, and mind you, I enjoy Doom Patrol, it's a fun show, but if it's like, yeah, we have this Immortus thing and this Butts thing, isn't this fun? Versus whether they meant it or not, there's the pressure of they got to wrap up Immortus, they got to wrap up the Butts thing, they also have to wrap up the series in a satisfying way. Plus, they've got all the underground stuff with Jane, which we're just really
don't even get me started on that shit. You know, they mentioned the underground, but we haven't seen Hammerhead all season, and it's breaking my fucking heart. There's a nun with the chainsaw. There is a nun with the chainsaw that we haven't seen. Some of the best characters are being held away from us.
Here's what's definitely not going to happen, but I'll throw at you as like an ideal ending, not in terms of emotional catharsis of plot, but in terms of what I think you would like. Everybody escapes from the underground, including Chainsaw Nun, Hammerhead. They all become real, and they help them fight the zombie butts.
Ooh.
And there's 3 cliffs somehow.
Oh, wow, that would be amazing. Speaking of cliff, I did want to kind of say this was still had some great Cliff moments when there wasn't singing going on. Like Cliff almost peeing on Vic was fun. You know, like there was some.
That was a lot of pee, I gotta say.
He's the big guy. You know what I mean?
He's a big guy. That was an enormous amount of pee. Regardless, he does have.
I'm sure it was theatrical pee.
No, I think it was Brendan Fraser. He's a method actor. Like he gets into his roles. For Encino Man, they had him frozen for thousands of years.
Stop.
It's true. Why would I lie about that?
Unbelievable. I mean, also, I would like to say...
All I'm saying is you had a very healthy stream for a man his age.
Oh my God. I'm not going anywhere near that. But
you shouldn't.
Yeah, thank you. One of the other
if you see a stream that healthy, you stay away from it. You do not get near it anymore.
I would just start clapping and just be like, good for you, man. That is a healthy stream. Look at you go. The other thing that I thought was enjoyable, even though there was singing all around it.
And we should mention Pete is a urologist.
Oh my God! Is the kind of Keeg is, flying around them like a magical fairy as they kissed at the end of that one song. That was adorable in a lot of ways. So that was nice.
Well, and the way that everything got transformed in the musical world, I did love that because Keeg was. Instead of this weird electrical entity, it was, like you're saying, like a very Tinkerbell thing that hangs out.
It was, with
Larry the entire time, which was a really nice touch. And everybody, I think, also the cast was all clearly 100% on board with everything that was happening. Like they were all in it, which I think really, really helps a lot.
Was your favorite song the Cliff Jerkoff song? Was that your favorite?
What was my favorite song? No, my favorite song was I think the intro song, actually, just when they got into it, because that was the full cast number. You had the Sex Ghosts come out. I loved having them as the chorus the entire time. That was so much fun.
Much fun.
The I feel like you're being sarcastic, Pete. You don't like the sex ghost because you don't like sex and you think it's yucky,
Oh my God. No,
right?
that's not.
Okay, we'll just move on from there. We won't really delve into that one too much. The You didn't like the delivery on the line, like, "Hey, sex ghost, have you had sex today?" You know we
No,
did.
wait, yeah. I
Very
mean,
funny.
I mean, that's just dumb talking for setting up songs, but yeah, there was a
That
fun
was
line.
great. The
The hi sex ghost. Yeah, just, you know.
That them popping out everywhere to sing every once in a while and remind particularly Laura slash Madame Rouge that it was a musical was very fun. Her One of the funny moments in the episode, and it was in the trailer, but her going, "What the fuck?" And
Yeah.
then them coming out and going, "What the fuck?" Very funny. Perfect. And what other show than Doom Patrol could do that? None. No other shows. Name one
So
show.
lucky. We're so lucky to have it.
Name a show. The Wire.
I did like the kind of ending shot on the like signed 8x10. That was fun.
Yeah.
You know, the old classic actor
Man, you
headshot
really
kind of
didn't
thing.
like anything. I loved Rita being sucked into it wholeheartedly. I loved them doing the song about friendship. That was very fun as well, particularly given Rita and Laura's continuing relationship. Them singing about that, but that kind of being the breaking point for Laura, I thought was very interesting. Here, I'll throw out a non-singing thing that I thought was interesting in the episode, which I'm going to try to frame this in a way that maybe you'll be okay with instead of getting upset. Now, you know what? I'll ask you and get you upset. Do you think Dorothy is the new Niles?
Oh, come on, man.
Well, in terms of Dorothy was a child and treated like a child, but actually hundreds of years old, I think we're starting to get the sense in this episode that she is moving into the leadership role that Rita did a poor job with.
Yeah,
Laura
somebody
is
needs
kind
to
of,
step up. And it's
well, and I think
still a
it's
problem.
Dorothy.
We're how many seasons in, and this is still such a huge problem. It's just frustrating sometimes because it's like Cliff still waffles between being good and bad. And it's just kind of like I feel like we're farther along. We should be farther along as characters a little bit, and so it's a little bit upsetting that like there's still these huge problems. You know what I mean? And I'm not talking from an ivory tower of perfection over here, but I just feel that like it would be nice to know that like, hey, you know what? We don't have a leader, but this is how we kind of do things, and this is what works for us. Where it's like it's still such a shit show, and Cliff still kind of all of a sudden sometimes he's a really great father and is on the right track, and then he's a fucking complete asshole, and it just kind of goes back and forth.
But I
And
mean, and I
so
mean this sincerely, that's kind of life, right? Like that's the whole point of Doom Patrol is as much as we move forward as people, as much as we develop and learn things and try to improve ourselves, we still have that essential part of our nature that drags us back to our worst impulses sometimes. You have any
yeah.
experience with that, Pete?
Yeah. No, it's just nice to, you know, have it be a glaring problem in my real life and also the shows that I watch. You know what I mean? Like, you know,
Mm-hmm.
it'd be cool if something gave me some hope.
Yeah, you got to watch a show called Teletubbies. Their only problem is where's the sun and what's over that hill, and they solve it
I,
every time.
oh man, I'm not going to even discuss the Teletubbies with you. There's no need.
Man, there's a lot of stuff that you just do not want to discuss this episode. I want to get back to the Dorothy thing, though, that I was saying, because I do think.
Well,
to
that's
the,
what
no,
Dorothy
she does feel
should
like
be a
somebody,
better leader than Niles. That's what would
and
be
I think she
awesome.
will be. I think that's what we're getting a sense of here in terms of her interaction with Vic. She starts off the episode. She's part of the musical number. She's dancing in her pajamas. It's very cute. It's very fun. But I think by the end of the episode, she is part of the team in more of a way, and she's moved from this problem they needed to deal with to an adjunct of the team to now she's stepping up in a certain way and she's making suggestions and offering things. And I do think we might get by the end of the series something where this is what I was saying with her as the new Niles is Niles was always a jerk. He was bad. He was bad for them and manipulating them. And I think she knows that and she knows the flaws in what Niles did, but she also respects her father and wants to honor his legacy. And I think I could see a place where she steps up and becomes the leader that they actually need. Will
Well,
they
somebody needs to step the fuck up, and it would be great if it would be her.
But I do think, in a certain sense, even if they knew this was the last episode coming up, Doom Patrol is never going to be like, yeah, let's follow the leader. Let's go be heroes. That's not going to happen. So they're still going to be a jerk to her. But they need somebody that is part of the team who's been through the same things they have, which they didn't get from Niles. He was a guy who was prescribing stuff to us. And instead, they need somebody who has had their experience, lived through it, and stepped forward emotionally in some way, which I think is Dorothy.
So let's just kind of go through it here. In a perfect world, in these last 3 apps, we get Dorothy stepping up, being the team leader, Vic becoming Cyborg again, Cliff deciding not to be a fucking asshole. We get everyone from the underground above ground and a part of the team. And we get, Keeg and Larry to finally be able to communicate and listen to each other.
Yeah, Keeg says, I love you, Larry. Like that.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yep. Like, what's his name from Goonies? I love you, Larry.
Yeah. That's Baby not what he says at all. And yeah, that.
Baby Ruth. Baby Ruth.
Stop.
Says
please.
That. You just don't want me to talk on this podcast where all I want to do is
I just
talk
want you
to
not, just not make me angry would be great.
Yeah.
If you could just say sentences that didn't make me want to punch
I think that's
through
physically
the
impossible for me, to be honest.
So.
I do think Dorothy is going to step up. I think we're going to see that in some way. And I think we're already starting to get a sense of that. I did want to ask you about Casey, because I thought the idea of a relationship between Casey and Jane is very sweet and surprising. I was not necessarily expecting that to pop up here, though we've definitely had hints of Jane exploring her sexuality with the fog in particular. I like how they just jump into it here, but I'm still not 100% sure about Casey. I don't know if she's 100% gelling with the ensemble yet.
Same. I don't think she's sane. I think there's a little bit of something's not right, and I'm not sure what's going on. But it could just be because
her vibe is different. Her vibe is different.
It just could be she's hasn't been real her whole life, and now it is. You know what I mean? That could be it.
No, I know you're sort of joking, but I legitimately think that's what it is. And I think the unfortunate part is there's not enough time left of the show to really figure out what her deal is and what makes her special and interesting. I wish there was more. I hope there is by the end, but I don't know. I'm good with everybody else, but versus having a pro like Michelle Gomez coming in and being like, yep, I'm Madame Rouge, I'm crazy, here's my deal, and here's my thing, and being able to inhabit this character. Again, nothing against the actress, but she is, as far as I understand, a relatively new actress, and I think still kind of finding her footing in the ensemble, so hopefully it happens by the end. It's not quite there yet, but as I do have to ask, as the relationship expert on every podcast we do, except for Riverdale, which you're just plain wrong about, how do you feel about Casey and Jane? Hashtag JC, hashtag Kane.
Well, I don't like this. I like this first one better than the second one. I think it would be great. You know, I'm still pulling for. It's hard to kind of really pull for this because I just feel like she's ignoring the underground, and I need them. It was such a huge part of the show for so long. The fact that we're just like, yeah, the underground, and and just her as a character is so frustrating because she's ignoring all these hints and clues. And the whole part where Casey and her were talking about the puzzle, and then she was like, "Yeah, I'm sorting them by colors."
Oh, that was last episode. That was a previous episode, but I understand.
Either way, my point being that she's ignoring things along the way that seem very much important, and it would be great if she kind of started dealing with this stuff a little bit.
I will give you that. I want something different to be happening with the underground here in terms of we've been to this place before with dragging it out, Jane ignoring the problems, something going on in the underground. So maybe that's why I want them all to rise up and fight the zombie butts, just so we get something different. I don't think that would provide emotional catharsis for Jane, but I want to see. I'm with you in that. I do want to see something different here. Let's talk briefly about the resolution of this, where, first of all, I loved I love the idea of like Laura finding these old videotapes and showing everybody and breaking them out of them. Not to get back to Riverdale, but very similar to the thing that happened there in terms of breaking everybody out of their 1950s dream state. Though it's, it's a trope, it's a classic. What choice would you make, Pete? Would you stay in Immortimas land, or would you break out into your?
Yeah, I want to be in the real world. You know what I
You want to
mean?
be in
Like
the real
I'm
world?
not going to eat the red pill, and yes, ignorance is bliss, but
Red pill? What's that a reference to? Is that a reference to another episode of Doom Patrol, Pete?
you know what it's a reference to. So let's not play these little
It's a
games.
reference to the pills I got to take every day.
Oh my god.
From my urologist, who is you?
Oh boy. I am a podiatrist, you asshole. Keep the bits together.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're just a Duracell battery. All right, Zelbatron, that's it. So get used to it.
What does that mean? Oh, is a reference to the episode. Okay.
It's a reference
What
to
does
the
that have to
Matrix,
do with
which is what I
podiatry,
was.
Pete?
Yeah. We're too many bits deep here.
We absolutely are.
Yeah. I just I agree with you on that. I really agree, and I'm hoping that we get a lot in these the last couple episodes because there's so much stuff up in the air still. That's why it's a little frustrating to get a musical number in the middle of all this because I'm like, yeah, with the singing, we got shit to do here, guys.
Well, but I think it did do that shit because it's integrating everybody. We've had Dorothy and Casey were kind of off screen, so it's really bring them into the fold here in a big way. It's pushing forward again the Laura and Rita stuff just in terms of this new detente is the wrong word, but like this understanding that they have between their friendship that still has a lot of friction between it. It's giving us this Casey and Jane relationship, which is new and interesting. For Larry, it brings him a boyfriend and like really settles that in a big way, and moves that forward. And for Cliff, it's coming to an understanding with his robot body, like and coming to an understanding with who he is. So I do think there was actually a lot of forward movement here. And then ultimately at the dinner at the end, that they all are together and kind of like 90% on the same page in terms of not wanting Immortimus, except for Cliff is the one detractor, right? Who's like, no, please leave me in my human body. I think that's bringing them together, and that's bringing them together to face Immortus, to face ultimately these zombie butts as well. It's getting us very slowly to this place we want them to be. We'll just see if it actually wraps up in the 3 episodes or not.
I do love Mohinder and Larry together, though. They are nice.
Yeah. Any final thoughts on the episode? Things I missed, or did you just be like, songs? Nope, I'm out.
Yep.
Great. Glad to hear it. All right. Well, why don't we wrap up here then and talk about who's the most doomed to the episode? I know I said they're all doomed at the beginning, but do you agree, Pete? Or is there one specific character that is the most doomed?
I'm hoping the sex ghosts are doomed, because they were a fun addition. But like I said, there's too much to deal with, and I hope we don't see them again unless it's for a fun, hilarious callback. Or somehow they can fight butts, because otherwise, we got to stay focused and wrap it up.
Yeah. As a urologist, isn't that your tagline? We got to stay focused and fight butts? Because you're focused on the other stuff.
Oh my God.
You're like, forget about that back stuff. I want the front stuff. Right, Pete?
Oh my God. Who do you think is most doomed, Alex?
Oh, great question, Pete.
Us?
Definitely our relationship after this podcast. I am going to throw it out. God, I'm a little torn. I'm definitely still on the Madame Rouge. Laura is going to have to make some sort of sacrifice by the end to redeem herself type thing. Like, it just still feels to me like she's the one that's breaking out. She's the key to beating Immortus, and to prove once and for all to Rita that they are on the level. I think.
Yeah, that's another thing. It's like their friendship is so awesome when it's happening, but it's this will they, won't they be friends is killing me. You know?
Yeah. Have you ever experienced that before, though? Two friends that like really grate on each other, but still get back together and still keep doing things together. But at the same time, like, you're like, oh, there's a tension there that just keep like needling at each other about stuff. Have you ever
No, yeah.
experienced that, Pete?
No, nothing about that clicks for
Nothing
me at all.
similar.
Especially with the way you're holding your hands in rage. You know what I mean? And the shaking and the
Yeah, the red face and the slobbering at the lips. The other one that I wanted to throw out there though is Cliff, just because like, man,
Don't you dare.
he's really pushing against it though.
He is. I mean, this episode made me so mad at him. The fact that like he was like, yeah, do it. I'm doing this for some dumb reason that I convinced myself that makes no fucking sense.
Yeah. I don't know. We'll see. Maybe it is all of them. Maybe they are all going to die Thelma and Louise style at the end of the series. We'll definitely be there all the way through. If in the meantime, if you want to support us, patreon.com/comic book club. Also, we do a live show every Tuesday night at 7 p.m. to Facebook and YouTube.
If that's how this show ends and you called it, if they all go over a cliff together, oh my God.
I'll go over a Cliff Steele together. Where was I? comicbookclublive.com for this podcast and many more. And until next time, we didn't get to do this the first 2 episodes. Let's end this with a Pete of advice from Pete LePage. Take it away, Pete.
Oh,
what's
wow.
your Pete of advice?
Completely surprised. Listen, life is hard, okay? It's really hard. Find something for yourself, just something that is just for you. And, try to enjoy and hold on to that as much as you can. And hopefully nobody ruins it for you. You know what I mean? Especially some of your closest friends who are supposed to love and care about you. People are human. But I just try to hold on to your light as much as you can against all the winds, against all the haters. You just keep being you because we need you. All right? We don't need haters. We don't need assholes. We need you to survive.
Wow, that was a great advice. And just on the people are human bent, I would just add that Thundercats are both human and cats.
That's the best of both worlds. It's something we all can strive to be. You're the snarf of our podcast, Zalvin.
Oh, thanks, man.